Hi guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a lava lamp necklace. So what we're going to need is a bunch of skinner blends. So I've already got a few lined up here, and this is Primo White with ultramarine blue and black. Here's another one with the black and the white again, just this time it is Primo Purple. Here's another one with, let me see which colour is this one. This one is Fuchsia with Primo White and Black, Primo Orange with White and Black, and Primo Cadmium Yellow with White and Black. Now I just need one more, and that is going to be using Cadmium Red. And all of these are rolled out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine, which is roughly about 2mm each. And I am using a square that is probably about 5cm across. It doesn't really matter that much. Just need a block of white and your colour of choice and black. Okay, then just grab these, fold them into a triangle, and we're going to be making a skinner blend today. And now I'm not going to be doing it in depth, so please have a look at the links in the description below the video for links to how to create a skinner blend in depth. Okay, and I'm just going to remove this and just quickly wipe up this clay because I don't want it getting on anything. So I'll just get that out of the way. Yeah. Okay, now this bit's important. We've got the triangle here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to be popping this up against it, but we're going to be leaving a bit so that we have pure black, pure colour in the skinner blend. And then I'm just going to trim away the excess so that you end up with something that looks like that. So just take your blade and squish that up, and that is your skinner blend. Now I'm going to be creating all of these skinner blends, and then when we're done I will show you what we're going to do with them. Okay, and here are all the skinner blends. So you might need to trim off the ends, which I have done because they're going to have little bits and pieces all over them, and they're generally not going to be so tidy. So I generally trim off the white ends, and then I fold it all up as tight as I can, and then I'm going to roll this through a pasta machine from thin edge to thin edge. And I'll show you that in a second. Like that. Then I'm going to take it down. So I have it about 1mm thick now. I'm going to take it to about 1/2 millimeter thick. Okay, so from one side through to the other side, and you will repeat that with all of them. Okay, so when you've done that, you want to take your skinner blend and you want to start from the light side, always the light side, and just start rolling it up into a skinner blend bullseye cane. And I'm almost done with this one, and once you get it going it goes quite quickly, and I've done that with all of the other ones as well. Yeah, so that's what it should look like. Then just press in that end. Okay, so here are all of our little canes, as you can see. So now what we're going to do is with each individual cane we are going to reduce it down a fair amount. So just grab it and start squeezing along this end, like so. And now I don't want to reduce it too far, but I want to reduce it so that I can cut out maybe about 5 pieces with enough space to comfortably cut cane slices from it. Okay, I'm just going to trim that up, and there you can see how that looks. And now I'm going to cut about 5 pieces from it, And they're not all going to be the same size because I have different things planned for each one. So I'm just thinking what I want these to be for. Okay, and then I'll show you how to manipulate these. So this one I'm going to put to the side for the moment. This one I want to be a largish one, so I'm just going to press down on it to get it to become larger again, not so small, like so. This one I want to be thinner, so I'll just reduce that one down a bit more. Okay, so those are two done. Now these ones I want to manipulate so that they're kind of squished. So this one I'm going to squish into a teardrop shape. Like so, and you want to keep it kind of round looking. Okay, and this one I actually think I'll cut this in half. And I'm going to reduce that down a bit more. And this one I'm just going to kind of randomly press on it so we get kind of a blob, and not round shape. Just kind of at random. And this one I'll also do that, but because I haven't reduced it down it will have a different sized blob shape. And try to keep all of your corners round, and you don't have to make the same shape across it. Each one will look different because of that. And these ones you also don't want to have completely round, so just kind of twist them and manipulate them in such a way that they're not going to look completely round. I'm going to cut in half, and I'm going to kind of elongate it. So it's a really easy thing to do. You don't have to kind of worry about getting it accurate. It's really about just squishing the canes and having some fun with it. Okay, now this one, what I want to do is I'm just going to squish it back down again so that it's a bit bigger and easier to work with. And what I want to do is I want to bring over a skewer quickly. And I'm going to press on the middle like this. And then just roll so that it's a nice even transition. But there, I basically want to end up with something that kind of looks like that. And I'm just going to press on it a bit more to elongate this bit a bit, and this one I want to be a bit more rounded. Okay, there we are. So here are our pieces. I'm just going to chop off the end so you can see each one. And now keep in mind the blue bit is the only piece we're actually going to be seeing. That black is just so that it transitions nicely into my background colour. So if you don't want to use black as your background colour, replace the black in your Skinner blends with whatever background colour you want for your lava lamp. So we've just got a bunch of completely random shaped pieces. And I would do that with all of the other ones in a little while. But first I want to show you what we're going to be making. And we basically want one pendant per cane. And the pieces we're going to be using are these silos. And I'm just going to bring over the right shaped ones. So I've just got the whole set here, and I want to just show you the whole set so you can see what I'm going to do with it. Okay, you can see the whole set there. Alright, so this is the full set of silos. Oh, not silos, capsules, sorry. I'll have a link to the cutter set in the description below the video. So for these, this is the full set of capsules. I'm going to take off the two smallest ones, like so. And then I'm going to take out these ones so that I'm left with these. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have 3 on this side of the necklace and then 3 on that side of the necklace. Okay, so what you need to do is you're going to have, so let me show you this side quickly. So it's going to be one for each colour. So I'm going to have the yellow there, orange, then red. Then on the other side, we're going to have pink, purple, and then the blue. So I'm going to show you the blue quickly. So I've got a sheet of black rolled out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the silo, why do I keep calling it that, capsule. I'm just going to gently press so that I have something to work with, so that I don't overshoot the veneer. I'm just going to keep that over there. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to cut thin slices. They don't have to be super thin, because keep in mind we're going to be distorting them a bit, so you can just work with that a bit to kind of distort it up. So don't feel constrained to use the exact shape you have. I'm going to pop that down, and let's see. And this is why I've worked with such a small amount of clay, because we really don't need much for each piece. So these canes will last you a fairly long time. And each cane slice I might manipulate a little bit. That one I'm going to stretch just a little bit more. Pop that up there. And I'll just continue doing that. Okay, and there is how it looks. So now I'm just going to take a piece of plain printing paper, and I'm just going to gently burnish this so that those slices become one with the sheet of polymer clay that we have here. So press down nice and hard, and we should end up with something looking like that. And I just want to continue burnishing until I don't see any lines whatsoever. So we'll get rid of any lines we have, which means that we'll be able to sand it quite nicely. Alright, so I don't see any lines there, it's completely stuck down. So here's the silo capsule. Okay. And I'm just going to chop this like so, get rid of that. And I'm just making a backing, so we've gone from about a 2mm thick veneer to about 4mm thick. And the reason for this is because I want to be able to drill through it, and I also want to put a nice texture on the back. So I'll go grab my texture, and I'm just going to use this crocodile roller that I have right here. Start at the bottom. I'm just going to roll, and I'm not rolling it so that the texture is as deep as it could be. I'm rolling it just so that we have a nice light texture on the back. Okay, then you'll want to grab your cutter, and all I'm going to do, so that I make sure that I get it in the right spot, so I'm going to gently trim around that, and I'm going to cut from the back. And that way we won't flatten out our texture. So just position it roughly in the middle and cut straight down and lift straight up. Okay. And this means that when we put resin on this, which I think I want to do, we'll see, it means that we've got a nice flat front to work with. So now just gently smooth away any little bits and pieces left over from the cut. And we'll need to give our sides a little bit of a sanding. Just go and gently smooth the front. And I will repeat this with each of my pieces. And then when you're done, you'll pop them onto a piece of plain printing paper, all of them, and you'll put them in the oven for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature. Okay, so I changed my mind about how I want to do it. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do it instead. So I've got all of my pieces in their shapes, so you can see they're all shaped up. And what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to have a sheet of black clay rolled out to 2mm thick, and you can see I've marked out the capsules. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this over here out of the way, and we're going to start with the yellow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of overlap them. So I'm going to start yellow over here, but we might get a little bit of yellow on the orange, and it might be a little bit of orange on the red. And so I'm going to lay slices all across here in a nice pattern, and then I'll show you how they look. Okay, and here is how it looks. Now, like before, we're just going to gently smooth that out so that we have no seams. For each one of these. And I'll just continue smoothing across here. Okay, and here's what we have so far. And now I'm going to be using the narrow capsules instead of the large ones, the normal ones, just because I think they look better. And now I'm cutting on the paper, but because we've burnished it on the paper, it should stick just fine. There we go. See, it lifted up just a little bit, but not enough for it to come off the paper, which is good, because we've been burnishing it a lot, so it should stick. And if you lift straight up, I find that it releases better, because generally when you work with paper and you're cutting out beads, they generally get stuck in the cutter. But because we've burnished it and because we're being quite careful to lift straight up, and we're holding the paper as well, it will stay just fine. And there we are, that's how it should look once you've lifted it up. Now some of them you should be able to lift up fairly easily, like this one. And now just gently go around and smooth these sides. So, okay, and we're going to worry about the back in a little while. Okay, and that one also is coming off easily. Smooth the side. And again, we'll worry about the back later. Okay, now this one, we're going to need to use the blade. And now careful, keep your finger out of the way when you do this, and just scrape that across the paper. And it should lift up pretty easily. Smooth the sides, and just repeat for all of them. Now for the next step, I want you to basically take all of your canes that are left over, because there shouldn't be that much left, and all of your little scrap pieces, and just divide them all into their separate little colour groups. Now we're going to take the orange, red and yellow, and the blue, pink and purple, and we're going to keep those two separate. Okay, now what I want is I just want to get this little cat hair out here. Kit Kat is always in my work. And I just want you to press these into balls, like so. And just roll them so they're nice and solid. Okay. Then roll them out like so. And I don't want you to include any black pieces that you might have chopped off of your pieces. I just want the cane slices so there's not too much black contained in here. That is quite important. Then I want it orange, yellow, red. Chop that in half, and you can see there's quite a bit going on in there. And then I want to put that together. Let's see, how do I want to put this together? We can either do it together like that, or like this. I'm just going to stick it together like that. Okay. Now just press that up together, so we're just making those logs into strips basically. Now I'm just going to trim that and see how it looks. Okay, and I quite like that. I don't want to thin them out anymore, so I'll keep that like that, and then I'm going to repeat with these. Okay, and there are our two little leftover canes, and we're going to be making beads out of these. So just pop them off to the side, and right now we're going to take care of these. So roll out a piece of black clay that has been rolled out on your thickest setting. Okay, and here it is. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to smooth that out, and then I'm going to take each of these, and I don't actually want this to be too thick, so that one's the clay that we're working with is already 2 millimeters thick, so I'm going to make this a millimeter thick because I don't want it to be too thick. There we go. Okay, now I'll take this, I'm just gently going to tap it down onto the surface. And we're going to add texture to this afterwards, so don't worry about that. So I'm going to take it off of here so that it doesn't stick in the cutter, and I'm going to just lay it down flat on the tile. And then gently take this and smooth it. And then take the correct cutter, just make sure, yes. Press down to get a nice clean cut, and lift straight up, and repeat with all of them. There we are. Now lift this, and everything should come away nice and clean. Just go over it with your finger, gently brush over this to just get rid of any fingerprints or things like that. And then if you're working on a tile that is small enough to go in the oven, pop this in the oven. If not, then you can also heat gun it if you're worried about the shape distorting, because I don't want these to distort. So I'm going to just quickly bring over a rubber tool so I can clean up the edges first. And this works just as well as my finger, it's just that my finger generally can't get in here because of the close proximity each of these has to each other. So just use a rubber tool to gently smooth around the edges. Okay, and this will mean that your sides are nice and clean. And we will need to give them a sand, of course, but the more you do now, the less sanding you have to do. And so I'll repeat with all of these, and I'm going to check from all angles to make sure that I'm happy with them. Okay, and that will have cleaned up everything. So now you can either pop these in the oven, or you can use a heat gun if your tile can't fit in the oven to just heat set them. So while those have just come off the tile, you can see they're basically cured. The backs are still a little bit raw, but that's fine. We're going to go pop those in the oven in a minute once we have done our little beads that we've got. So I've done some cores for these, and now we're just going to bring over our cane, and I just want to square them up properly. So just use your roller to just quickly get rid of any creases that might be there that are very obvious. And then just slice some nice thin slices. And I'll repeat these for the red ones as well. But make sure that the core matches your cane. So this one I've taken all of the blacks and the blue, purple and blues and pinks. And this one I've gone with the orange, reds and yellows and blacks. So that would go with the other cane. So just make sure that you do that. Okay, and I'm just going to take this and I'm going to start wrapping it around. I'm just going to cut this in half because we don't need the whole thing. Yeah. Just join it up like so, and then just pinch the top. So, just so that you close it up. You don't want that exposed. Like so. Okay, now I'm just going to gently roll it in my hands to just smooth it out. Like so. And now I need to put on some gloves so that I don't get fingerprints all over this. And then I'm just going to roll it again, and this time we'll be getting rid of fingerprints and things like that. Okay, because we're going to be dipping it in Varathane or possibly putting resin on it, so we don't want any fingerprints to be showing up. Okay, then take that and get the center top piece and just gently press from one side, flip, and press on the other side because we want a rondelle. Okay, and there is our rondelle. And I'm going to repeat with, let's see, probably about 8 of these ones, and then 8 of the red, orange and yellows. And then I'll pop those in the oven with these pieces. You can see it adds a nice little bit. It's going to combine all of the bits and pieces. So I'll carry on doing that, and then I'm going to bake those for a full hour at pretty much recommended temperature. Okay, so they're out of the oven, and so now we just want to clean up these edges because they've got a few holes in them, like you can see over here. So just pick off any little bits that need to be picked off. And then bring over a piece of black primer, just rolled out into a nice little sausage. Press it to the side of your bead, and then just push really hard to get it to smear onto the side of your piece. And repeat this with all of them, except for the little rondelles. And now it's going to turn out to be a bit messy in the beginning, and you might need to go over it a few times. And the harder you push, the better it will come out. There we go. Then just get rid of that. Wipe off your finger so that there's no clay residue on it. And then go over and start smoothing. This is the important part. You want to be quite vigorous when you're smoothing as well, because you can smear it into places where you want it to go, and it also will be thinning it out as well. Some areas are going to be thicker than others, and you just want a light coat along the edges. And remember to scrape along the front here. Don't worry about that too much because we're going to take care of that later with the sanding. But for now, you just want to really be pressing along the edge here, getting it nice and smooth. Like so. And get rid of all of this. Like so. And that is what you should end up with. Nice and clean along the edges. And we're going to take care of the back once it comes out of the oven. You put that in for about half an hour to bake. Okay, and then as far as these rondelles go, we just want to drill them straight down the centre. So just grab the centre, and I've got a little push drill here, and I'm going to start by drilling because it just makes the push drill a little bit easier to handle. And then and you might need to get to start. There we go. And just press. There we go. And it goes through pretty quickly. And then just go through from the other side so that it comes out nice and neat. And you'll repeat that with all of your rondelles. And there we go. And we'll varnish them later on. So you can see how nice that looks. So I'll do that with all of those while these ones are baking in the oven for a full hour. Oh, not a full hour, for half an hour. Okay, so those pieces are in the oven, and I finished drilling up all of these. So while those are in the oven, so you might hear the tick in the background, we're going to varnish these. So you're going to need some sort of basket, like I have here, and let me just zoom out quickly so that you can see. And I also have a little wire. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to wrap it around these little spokes here so that it just has a somewhat secure foothold. And then I want to take these and I want to string them on. Like so. There we are. And now what I want to do is I want to brush on my varnish. And so I've got a pot of paraffin gloss off to the side here. And I'm just going to use a brush to brush it on. And I'll do that with each of them. And this means that we'll get a nice even coat. I'm not going to dip them because I don't think that's necessary. I'm just going to brush them on. And I'll probably do close to about 2 coats of these. And then you're going to probably want to let them dry for maybe around half an hour between coats. And I'm going to do 2 coats, as I said, for each of them. And then when that's done, we will move on to the next step. Okay, so these are out of the oven, and now we're ready to do sanding. So we need to take care of the back first. So I like to take a coarse grit of sandpaper. This is 80 grit. And I just want to do this in one direction. And you can see it's starting to scratch up that back there. And I just want to scratch up the whole back, like so. And make sure you get everywhere. All of these little indents and raised areas should be the same amount of scratches. Okay. I'll just get rid of all that dust. I'll quickly clean that off. And here is what that is looking like. So now I just want to grab a wet wipe just to clean up all of that dirt, because we don't want that in there for our next step. So just give it a good wipe over to clean it. And then you can use white paint for the next step, but I'm going to be using this as it dries quicker. Just going to open that up after giving it a shake. And I got this from Linda's Art Spot. It's a great place to get this if you're looking for it. I'm just going to smooth that across the surface like so. Okay, and I'm just going to wipe my finger every time I slide across. just so that I can get rid of any excess. And I'm just going to continue doing this until it dries, which should do in any second now. Okay, completely dry. Clean off my finger quickly. Now grab some sanding papers and you give it a quick sand. And this will start to clear it up. And that's one way of doing it. You can see it's starting to clear up already. You can also use a wet wipe to do that, which is the quicker way of doing it. If it's not coming off easily, you can always use some alcohol to remove some. So I'll demonstrate that quickly. Okay. And this is 99.8% isopropyl alcohol. Spray some of that onto my wet wipe. Just going to wipe across. And that will clean it up nicely. And I'll do this with all of the backs, so it just gives it a nice interesting back instead of this. Okay, so I'll continue doing that, and then when you're done with that, you will want to sand the fronts. So just give it a quick sand with your 400 grit sandpaper, like so. And you'll want to go up to probably about a 1000 to 1200 grit sandpaper, which is my blue sandpaper, because we're going to be putting resin on this, so we don't need a super high shine. We just want to clear up any dirt there might be on the pattern. So I just like to give it a quick sand. And then on the edges as well, you want to sand. And be careful, because you don't want to over sand it, because you've only got a very thin layer of black here. And a very light sand. Okay, and I'll just continue through all of my grits. Okay, so now the next step is going to be to drill these. So I've drilled all of the other ones, and this is the last one we need to do. So just take a drill and drill into the side, and I find that beads that are around 3mm to 4mm thick are the easiest to drill without it being too thick. I generally go with around 3mm thick. 4mm is on the edge of being too thick, and that is how thick I've made these today. But if you're struggling, go with the 4mm and work your way down if you can. Okay, and you can see that went through very quickly. Nice sharp drill is quite important. Right, and there we are. We have all of our pieces. So let me just bring those over. And my beads, the little rondelles, are still drying, but that's okay because we need to put resin on this. So that's how it looks so far. So I'm just going to bring over the magic gloss so we can begin to give them a nice resin coat. Okay, and here's just a little silicone mat to work with. And I'm just going to take each of these, place them on the mat, and then I'm going to be using the Super Velcro's magic gloss. And generally I pour less than what I think I'm going to need just to get started, because the last thing you want is to pour too much. Especially since this doesn't have completely flat edges, it's got more of a very slight round on the edges, which is why I've chosen to use magic gloss today, because it has a very high doming quality, and so drips are a lot harder to achieve with this resin than other resins, which is good because it means that we can get a pretty good dome without having to worry about it dripping. but if you pour too much resin, it still is going to drip. So I'll just drag this out to the edges, and you can see how much nicer that looks now that it's got the resin coat on it. Okay, and let's just see, I can see that it is pulling away from the edges just a little bit. So I'm just going to touch it up with a bit more, not too much. And just drag that out to the edges again. And you might need to do 2 coats, that's fairly common. I try to get it in one, but if you need to do 2 coats, that's not to worry. And then before I put it in the UV lamp, I like to leave it for maybe around 2 minutes, just to see if it pulls away from the edges again and add more, and also so that I can get rid of these little bubbles. There's a few of them. You can run a torch across the surface if you want. I prefer not to because I've set things almost on fire using that, so I prefer to just scoop them out. I feel a bit more comfortable doing that. But if you want to use a torch, feel free to do it. And then I'll do this with all of my pieces, and I just want to show you the difference here in the black, just to show you how different those two look. So I'll cover these all in resin, and then when we're done, I'm going to put them into the UV lamp for about half an hour, and then we'll be able to string our piece. Okay, and here they are all finished up, and so I'm just going to pop these off to the side for the moment, like so. And I'm going to bring over my beads that have been in the UV lamp, and they've been in for half an hour, and they should be nice and hot. You can leave them in longer if you want to, but they should be fine. And now this necklace that I'm making, I wouldn't recommend wearing until maybe 12 hours have passed, just because you want to let this fully set and you want to leave the varathane to dry completely. But it's okay to start stringing it. So I've got a piece of Acuflex here, and I've done the one side already. I'll show you how to do the next side in a minute. And what we want to do is we want to bring over some black beads, and I have these really beautiful onyx beads here that I'm going to be using, and they're about 6mm thick in diameter bead. So it's going to be one of those, and then a rondelle. And then so on until I have no more of the purple blue rondelles left. Okay, just about to string the last one. Okay, then we're going to grab another one of these, and we'll string on our first capsule, a little narrow one, and this time I'm going to be swapping to 2 beads, I think. And let me just see how that looks quickly. I might swap to just one. Yeah, I think one will do. Don't think we need to. Okay, and then just continue stringing your capsules, and then on the other side I want you to use up the red-orange rondelles. Same way. Okay, and actually over here what I want to do is I want to put in 3 of these. Just to create a space between the two. I think 2 will be enough. Yeah, I want to create 2 because that is going to be the middle of our necklace. So I'll continue on until I'm finished. Okay, then the next step is going to be to take a charlotte crimp or clam crimp, depending on where you're looking, it can be called that. A crimp bead, string it on, And then I'm just going to raise this up so that I can make sure that I've got enough tension on this. Squeeze the crimp bead in there. Okay. And I'm just going to trim this up. I just need to get that down the side there so I can do it. There we are. And then squish that closed, and if the crimp gives you a little bit of trouble, you can always just twist it around inside there. There we go. Then close that clam. Closed. Grab a jump ring and the other part of your clasp and close. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. You just attach that and get rid of all these bits and pieces. There we are, and that is how it looks. And you can see that I did skip the second bead. I decided it looked better without it. And now this next design is very flexible as well. I mean, if you only like this, what you could do is you could leave this as a middle bead, make another purple one on this side and another blue one on this side, and then make a whole bunch of these to go on the other side if you wanted to. Vice versa with the red as well, you could do that as well. You could just leave it with just these ones, or you could make a bracelet or a necklace with just these as well. So mess around with it, play with it, and mix and match the components, play around with different colours as well. You could do a blue and green one, you could do a more simple one where you limit some of your colours, as I said before, so there's a lot to play with. And now also, I thought it looked quite nice on the back. It has an interesting tone to it. You could possibly wear it like that. I'm not sure. What do you think? Would it be wearable that way around? I don't typically wear a lot of colour. I prefer rustic jewellery, but that is another way you could wear it as well, though I think it looks best like this. So from my original idea of making a lava lamp necklace, that did evolve a little bit throughout the tutorial, as you might have seen, and I did show my thoughts on that, and you saw how I changed the design as I went through the tutorial. So I hope that helped you, because really it doesn't it's not wrong for you to change your mind throughout your project, and oftentimes it makes it a lot better. I mean, these were not even in the thought process when I first started this tutorial, and these were originally actually going to be rectangles, so you can see how this has changed throughout the process. So if you feel like you should maybe go down another road when you are playing around with your polymer clay, feel free to do it. Oftentimes it turns out a lot better than your original idea would have been. So I do hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please let me know in the comments below. And if you would like more in-depth tutorials like this one and others that I have done, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post videos every single week. And if you would like to support this channel, please do consider checking out my Patreon membership. I have multiple levels on there, ranging from $15 all the way down to $1. The $15 you get everything that I've ever posted on Patreon, which is close to 200 tutorials and growing by 3 every single month. So please do check that out, as it allows me to continue making free videos on YouTube. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.